Now to the big story that we have for you tonight. When India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj rose to address Parliament on the Jadhav family's mistreatment in Pakistan, everyone expected a hard-hitting statement. But the minister's remarks were much more than that. There was the emotion of a long-awaited mother-son meeting and Jadhav's first question about his father that the minister spoke about. Why did he ask that question? Because he noticed his mother's missing bindi and Mangal Sutra. These are symbols of Hindu matrimony. The minister's statement today conveyed the full import of Pakistan's actions. But when it comes to Islamabad, the question remains, will they pay heed? And that's the question we've been asking here. Take a look. We will be bringing you that report in just a bit. But this is a story that we at WION have been reporting on for months on end. Despite 22 requests by India, Pakistan continued to deny the request for consular access. Pakistan wanted Jadhav to meet his wife. India insisted
in the heckling.
This is what followed.
We had seen the heckling. We had heard the abuse. We had witnessed the harassment.
Expected media se inhone baat.
But it was India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj who told the behind-the-scenes story. The first question Jadhav asked his mother on meeting after 22 months and the reason why he asked it.
कि बैठते ही कुलभूषण ने मुझसे कहा बाबा कैसे हैं? क्योंकि मेरे माथे पे बिंदी और मेरे गले में मंगलसूत्र ना होने के कारण उसे ये शक हो गया कि शायद उसके पीछे से कोई अशुभ घट गया.
The significance of Pakistan's actions were laid bare by the minister. Jadhav's mother was presented as a widow in front of him in the absence of a bindi and Mangal Sutra, the signs of matrimony in Hinduism.
सदन में मुझसे कोई गलत बयानी न हो जाए, इसलिए आज सुबह मैंने उनकी मां से दोबारा बात की और पूछा कि क्या आपकी भी बिंदी चूड़ी मंगलसूत्र उतरवाया था? तो उन्होंने भरे गले से कहा कि जिस समय वो मंगलसूत्र उतरवा रही थी तो मैं ये कह रही थी ये मेरा सुहाग का चिन्ह है, इसे रहने दे, मैंने कभी नहीं उतारा.
Pakistan's insensitivity and inhuman treatment went even further. They disallowed the Jadhavs to speak in their mother tongue, Marathi, denying them the comfort of a conversation in their own language.
श्री जाधव की मां अपने बेटे से मराठी में बात करना चाहती थी, क्योंकि स्वाभाविक रूप से मां और बेटे के लिए अपनी मातृभाषा में ही बात करना सुविधाजनक होता है. किंतु श्री जाधव की मां को मराठी में बातचीत करने की इजाजत नहीं दी गई. मीटिंग में साथ बैठी दो पाकिस्तानी अधिकारियों द्वारा लगातार उन्हें रोका गया और जब वो अपनी बात पर डटी रही तो उनका इंटरकॉम बंद कर दिया गया ताकि वो आगे बातचीत ना कर सके.
The minister questioned the need to remove Jadhav's mother and wife's shoes. After all, they had cleared security of 2 international airlines to reach Islamabad.
एमिरेट्स जैसी फ्लाइट में जो दुबई से इस्लामाबाद तक सफर कर सकी, जहाँ पूरा सिक्योरिटी चेक हुआ, वहाँ किसी को रिकॉर्डर नजर नहीं आया, किसी को चिप नजर नहीं आई, किसी को. लेकिन पाकिस्तान में पहुंचने के बाद और अगर उसमें चिप थी तो ये जो इतना बड़ा मीडिया का तमाशा खड़ा कर रखा था, उसी समय दिखाना चाहिए था कि इसके अंदर ये चिप है. लेकिन अब शरारत करके दुष्प्रचार कर रहे हैं. लेकिन मैं कहती हूँ, इट इज एन एब्सर्डिटी बियॉन्ड मेजर.
Pakistan was left exposed on the very count that Islamabad feigned to offer this meeting.
पाकिस्तान श्री कुलभूषण जाधव को उनकी मां और पत्नी से मुलाकात को एक ह्यूमैनिटेरियन जेस्चर के तौर पर दिखा रहा है. लेकिन सच्चाई तो ये है कि मानवता और सद्भाव के नाम पर हुई इस मीटिंग में मानवता भी गायब थी और सद्भाव भी गायब था. इस मीटिंग में तो केवल जाधव के परिवार वालों के मानवाधिकारों का उल्लंघन पर उल्लंघन ही हो रहा था.
India's parliamentarians united to cry shame to Pakistan for using an emotional meeting as a propaganda tool and violating the human rights of the Jadhav family members. Bureau Report, WION.
The family of Kulbhushan Jadhav, despite being subjected to the harassment that you just saw from the Pakistani media and the government, were not rattled. Pakistan's antics did not scare Avanti Jadhav, the mother of Kulbhushan Jadhav. In fact, she questioned her son for parroting Pakistan's script during the 45-minute-long meeting. Here is what happened in Islamabad. Kulbhushan Jadhav began the conversation by repeating Pakistan's charge sheet almost verbatim. Just like the propaganda videos put out by Pakistan in the past, Jadhav told his family that he is an Indian spy and he was tasked with carrying out terror attacks in Pakistan. His tone seemed bizarre to his mother. She felt her son's body language was signaling a discomfort and the statements out of place. Avanti Jadhav then mustered the courage to interrupt her son and question him. In an aggressive tone, she told Kulbhushan Jadhav to speak the truth and state the facts. And a mother's courage seems to have surprised Pakistan. The Foreign Office authorities were recording this conversation on video cameras by coercing Kulbhushan Jadhav to repeat its line. Indian authorities suspect that Islamabad essentially wanted to use this conversation later as another piece of propaganda. But Avanti Jadhav's courage has thrown a spanner in the works and botched Pakistan's vicious plans. That's how we understand it. Let's go to our expert panel. Dilip Sinha, former Indian diplomat and former public administrator from Patna. Sushant Sareen, senior fellow at the Vivekananda International Foundation, with us from Gurugram, and Mayad Ali, senior defense analyst on Skype from Islamabad. Good evening to all of you. Dilip Sinha, thanking journalists for heckling the family, what does it say about how the Pakistani establishment operates?
Well, this Pakistani charade it defies logic. It defies common sense. It defies diplomatic norms, international law, and civilized behavior. It's very difficult to understand why they went through this kind of a charade of inviting the family across and then treating them in this manner. The family is unhappy. If they claim that it is a humanitarian gesture, but the family has come back very unhappy with the experience, and everybody in India is livid with this. So I, for one, I find it extremely difficult to understand what Pakistan hoped to gain from this this rigmarole that they made everybody go through. There is a possibility that they were trying to, the military establishment was trying to send a message across to those elements in the civilian leadership who may have said that Pakistan needs to make a gesture or two in order to counteract the international fallout of the Jadhav case, especially because of the matter being taken to the International Court of Justice.
Right.
But if that was the objective, then that also has failed.
Mayad Ali, are you ashamed of how the Foreign Office behaved with the wife and mother who were seeing their loved one after, what, 22 months?
It's a strange question that I am ashamed or I am not ashamed of something. You know, you need to ask me what happened, and what exactly happened was that every bit of that trip was already passed on to the Indian Foreign Office, and everything that was done with a mutual agreement. So
including the portion where they were heckled by journalists because the car came late, and the journalists asked those questions, and the Foreign Office apparently thanked them for putting the wife and mother through that. Was that part of the plan conveyed to India? Sure.
Let me complete. It was this Pakistani Foreign Office offered them the Indian High Commission and the Indian Foreign Office that they could the mother and the wife of Jadhav could hold a joint press conference with Pakistani spokesperson present at the occasion, and with, of course, Indian High Commission's officials present at the occasions, which was denied by the Indian side. They refused to hold such a press conference. Number one. Number two, there was media there standing there near the meeting point, and if the wife or the mother or any Indian official in Pakistan had any problem with the meeting, they could have gone to the media and talked and passed on their reservations. Now, this is strange. This is strange how you make up stories. Has anybody from the Indian side, from Indian media, approached the government to get the document of the protocol which was already agreed upon?
I'll tell you something. WION was one channel. I cannot speak for others, but our correspondent, my colleague, was standing there. He was present. He was part of of the journalists, the group that was standing there, and he reported that they were congratulated by officials from the Foreign Office for having treated the two ladies there and whatever was said to them. Let me take that question to Sushant Sareen. Sushant, I don't know anyone who bought the whole humanitarian gesture line in the first place, but with these details emerging, would you say that Pakistan's so-called PR stunt has backfired, and how?
Well, it clearly has. I don't see how anybody, how it's left, a good taste in anybody's mouth. Certainly not in India's mouth. And if the Pakistanis were actually serious about following the protocol, as Mr. Mayad Ali is towing the Foreign Office line in Pakistan, that everything was done according to the book, then I wonder if he has seen the protocol, whether that included, as you very rightly asked him, heckling by the media behaving like a pack of wild dogs, going after a prey. The fact that, you park the car at some distance from the porch. Ideally, the car could have gone right up to the porch. I have been to the Pakistan Foreign Office, and I'm sure Mr. Dilip Sinha has also been there. So we know the lay of the place. Now, that didn't happen. Did the protocol involve denying the Indian official who was given permission to sit in on the meeting to keep him outside it? Did the protocol involve a strip search of the wife and the mother? Did the protocol involve all of these? So normally when this protocol is worked out, it's worked out according to, the basics are decided. Now if somebody plays a fiddle at the last minute and thinks that low cunning is high diplomacy, and that it will lead to a lot of traction in the international media, then surely that's not going to happen. And as for this business of, which is again the Pakistan Foreign Office line, which Mr. Mayad Ali is parroting, that, if they had a problem, they could have spoken to the media. Now, Mr. Mayad Ali is a very seasoned journalist. He should tell us, in all seriousness, whether the kind of pack of wolves that was waiting out there, could any decent conversation happen with those fellows? They were more like goons rather than journalists. They were not doing journalism, they were doing activism and perhaps getting paid for it. That's all one can say. But again, I'm not surprised, because anybody who has studied the Pakistani media knows how embedded the Pakistani media is in the with the establishment, how much they toe the line, and how independent, so-called independent, they actually are. So frankly, it's I think the Pakistanis have, in a manner of speaking, shot themselves in the foot by this kind of clumsiness, this ham-handedness and this despicable behavior which we saw in Islamabad.
Mayad Ali, respond.
I didn't get any response for whatever I said. The media was there. Somebody could have walked onto them and asked them or told them of any apprehensions they had at the time.
These were two women.
Listen,
these were two women who just seen their husband and son respectively in captivity, parroting Pakistan's line, not being allowed to speak in their mother tongue, made to go through the humiliation of taking off their Mangal Sutra and Bindi. I'm not sure if you understand the full import of what that means for a woman who follows all of that. Yes, so they, after having gone through all of this, they are heckled in front of cameras and a section of the media, and you're saying they should have gone to them and spoken to them about their problems and what they did not like in the Pakistan Foreign Office's behavior?
They were officials of the Indian High Commission. Somebody could have said that they haven't said anything yet. We are waiting for their response. Everything we are getting is from the Indian side. You have a High Commissioner. It has not said anything. It has not come out with any allegations such as being raised in India. And Sushant Sahab, I respect you a lot. I am not saying anything under any pressure from any side whatsoever. And you know me very well that I've been very open about my beliefs, comments, and about my facts that I have. Please don't make such accusations. These are not nice accusations that I am sort of saying or towing somebody's line. You see, I'm telling you what I know for a fact.
Sushant?
No, I'm saying it simply because this is precisely what we've heard from the Pakistani Foreign Office spokesman. That, this is what could have happened, this is what they needed to do, what was the protocol. So my question to Mr. Mayad Ali was, did you actually see the protocol list yourself? what exactly was decided?
No.
And whether
I
the
did
strip
not,
search of the two ladies was part of that protocol? Was the strip search of the two ladies part of the protocol which was decided? Was this fact that while we all understand that there would be a security screening, we all understand that, and perfectly fine, but was the security screening, could it not have been done, frankly, if you have some kind of a bug in your, a necklace, or some kind of a bug in a bindi? Although I think if India has developed the nanotechnology for putting a camera in a bindi, then frankly, I think India is in a completely different class altogether. But the fact of the matter is that these are things which could have very easily been found out through electronic equipment yourself. You guys know that. So it was clearly the intention was to intimidate, it was to humiliate, it was to psychologically torture the two ladies. And frankly, if this is Pakistani definition of machismo, that two distraught ladies are put through this kind of a torture. And incidentally, did the protocol involve that the foreign ministry official from the Indian High Commission official would not be sitting in on the meeting? I think it was decided that he'll be accompanying the two ladies for the meeting. I think we need to be looking at the facts rather than just mouthing a set line.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. I would have liked to discuss with Dileep the role of Jadhav's mother, but we are out of time on this. Thanks very much, Dileep Sinha, Sushant Sareen, and Mayad Ali. Thank you very much. It's Jadhav's mother and wife were meeting him for the first time in 22 months. He's been accused of espionage in Pakistan, been put through a sham trial and sentenced to death. His case is still being reviewed in the International Court of Justice. But if you watched Pakistani media coverage of the event, you'd think otherwise. Here's why.
When Kulbhushan Yadav's family visited the Foreign Office, I was a witness to the way the journalists behaved at the entry and exit of the family who were accompanied by the Indian diplomat. Especially when they came out, they started shouting and screaming, not just questions, which is okay because normally questions are a job of a journalist. And in today's TV world, when you interact with someone and you throw questions at them, and even if they don't answer, that can be aired and made a point out of that particular sort of interaction. But this time around, the journalists present over there at the Foreign Office building were not asking questions. They were actually accusing, they were alleging that, Kulbhushan Yadav's mother, asking her how she felt being a terrorist mother, asking the wife how she felt about being married to someone who has killed hundreds of Pakistanis. And all these are political statements. And to top it off, not just that, while they were exiting, one of the journalists then started to chant "Long live Pakistan" slogans and riled up all the rest of the journalists, and they all joined in the chorus. And when I saw this, it made me feel a bit of disappointed in my own community, in my own journalist community, and I went on to report this the very same day on my channel, but also at the same time talked about it on Twitter online, and the reason for putting it out there was that I want to tell the other side across the border, the Indians, that while there are journalists like that who misbehaved with the family of Kulbhushan Yadav, with the women who may have been meeting Kulbhushan Yadav for the last time, given the fact that he's on death row and can be executed any day. But despite these journalists did not sort of accommodate for them or feel any sympathy towards the women. But still, despite that, there are journalists like me who felt that this was wrong and wanted to put our voice out there and tell the Indian audience and the world and people across the border that not everyone is like like that, and there is still some sanity prevailing in Pakistan, and some people who think that this was wrong, and not everybody behaved the way we saw in the news later on. Also, the video surfaced about the heckling, and then the Ministry of External Affairs in India also complained about it. But putting my voice out there, it's my attempt to say that we're not all the same. Taha Siddiqui, WION, Islamabad.
India today successfully test-fired a homemade supersonic interceptor missile, the third of its kind this year. The advanced air defense missile is capable of destroying any incoming ballistic missile at low altitude. Tonight we'll discuss why this is a very significant addition to India's defense capability. With two missile-armed neighbours, China and Pakistan, India has been working on an indigenous defense system that could intercept and destroy any missile fired from either country. The Defence Research and Development Organisation, or the DRDO's successful third test this year has come as a shot in the arm for the indigenous missile defence programme. But what does this missile actually mean? What does this test mean? What does the missile comprise? How does it work? And will it secure India 100% from enemy missile attacks? Let's try and get some answers. The Abdul Kalam Island is where today's test took place. Earlier it was called the Wheeler Island, which is about 10 kilometers off the coast of Odisha in the Bay of Bengal. The island itself is not large, around 2 kilometers in length with a total area of about 390 acres. It is from here that practically every missile India has developed has been tested. This includes the long-range Agni series, the short-range Prithvi series, the supersonic cruise missile BrahMos, the Prahar tactical battlefield missile and others. Today's test basically comprised two missiles. An advanced area defense interceptor, which is basically a single-stage rocket. It's powered by solid fuel, 7.5 meters in height, weighing 1.2 tons. It is equipped with a navigation system. Also on board is a computer, radio frequency seeker and electromechanical activator. The target missile is derived from the Prithvi series of missiles. It's powered by liquid fuel. It is 11 meters in height, weighs about 5 tons. This missile was launched first from the Abdul Kalam Island. The target missile was tracked by radar and firing command was issued. The interceptor homed in on the target missile at an altitude of about 15 kilometers and then exploded, destroying it. The missile defense is in fact important for India, given that the flying time for any missile launched from Pakistan to India would be around 8 minutes, which is why any credible missile defense system must be adequately supported. And what do we mean by this support? This includes a network of satellites monitoring India's neighbourhood 24/7, high-flying early warning aircraft on board radar that can detect any preparations for a missile launch up to a distance of 300 kilometers. Low-flying aircraft such as the Embraer equipped with radar and radio equipment to monitor enemy communications, and these and other systems need to be integrated to form a credible ballistic missile defense system for India. Does India have it? Not really. What India has is not the complete system. Currently, it's a patchwork comprising some satellites, two high-flying airborne early warning aircraft, but the low-flying aircraft is still being tested along with some other equipment, so it's far from over. The US, Russia and France and also Israel also have missile defense systems, so India is not the only one. China, interestingly, carried out a similar interceptor missile test in 2013, and it is believed that China has a limited ballistic missile defense capability. Many other countries are known to be working on their own missile defense systems, like South Korea, Japan, Taiwan. While South Korea's primary security concern stems from North Korea's missile capability, Japan and Taiwan see China as their primary threat. Taiwan lies about 100 kilometers from mainland China, and the flying time for any missile fired from there would be roughly the same as in the India-Pakistan scenario, that's 8 minutes. Now, even at the height of the Cold War between the US and Russia, which lasted over 40 years and saw both countries aim thousands of nuclear-tipped missiles at each other, neither side put up any credible ballistic missile defense system. The US had one site in North Dakota state, which it set up in 1975 and soon shut down. Russia to date has one missile defense system for Moscow and none other. In fact, Russia's Deputy Prime Minister for the military-industrial complex, Dmitry Rogozin, is on record as saying, and I'm quoting, "Missile defense is an illusion no matter how much money you invest in it." Well, this is not to say that Russia and the US did not develop other missile defense systems. Former US President Ronald Reagan's Star Wars plan to militarize space and secure his country was given up as too expensive. Since then, the US has developed cheaper systems like the Patriot, while Russia has the S-400, which saw action in Syria. Incidentally, India will be buying 5 S-400 batteries. Experts suspect that there could be other reasons for a country like India with much smaller industrial scientific base and financial resources to be investing in the ballistic missile defense technologies that it is. Russian strategic analyst Peter Topichkinov for one suspects that India is engaged in a deliberate strategic escalation plan and it is linked to Pakistan. What is the strategy? A missile defense system will complicate Pakistan's war planning. It adds to Pakistan's paranoia about India. It forces Pakistan to crank up nuclear missile production. Pakistan has overtaken India, remember, in nuclear weapons. It has 10 more nuclear warheads than India. Today, Pakistan is spending $2.5 billion on nukes annually. The strain on Pakistan's $269 billion economy is immense because of this. India's $2 trillion economy can take the strain, though. The defense budget of $51 billion dwarfs Pakistan's $8 billion. So India has the edge in that sense. India's investment in missile defense has other spin-offs. It generates research and scientific breakthroughs in strategic materials, in technologies like fly-by-wire and softwares. It helps a broad range of industries from metallurgy to mechanical engineering, from chemical and radio electronics to telecommunications. So it also generates opportunities, it also generates jobs, it multiplies India's economic and technological power, creates a military-industrial complex that secures India's strategic interests and wins respect worldwide. So it's worth investing.